Welcome to our podcast, Parenting by the Pint. Enjoy the show.
Greetings, Minivan Mafia. Lauren and I are longtime friends from Chicagoland that love getting together to chat about life, kids, family, and beer.
Each week, we'll feature a brewery and sample at least 2 of their beers.
We'll also discuss a variety of topics ranging from parenting, pop culture, travel, marriage, and just about anything else that comes to mind.
All right, welcome back, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
We are joining you again for some more beer and talking this evening. I feel like it's always in the evening.
Well, you know, the kids have to go to sleep for us to have peaceful beer time.
True. Our children are in bed. It's hopefully going to be a relaxing night. Let's have a couple beers and let's talk about another brewery.
Yeah, I mean, the odds are better if you have a couple of beers. So I think that's in our favor.
A good plan, right? Good plan.
Yeah.
So yeah, cool. We're going to talk about, or we're going to drink and talk about the Mitten Brewing Company today, which I have never actually had. So I'm kind of excited to give this a try.
Yeah, I don't think that I had anything of theirs until we went to the brewery on our family vacation that we just got back from recently. And we decided to go there for lunch. And we picked up a couple of their beers in addition to having lunch while we were there and trying a few. One of these I tried, and one of them we're going to try first here is their amber ale called West Coast Swing. It's a American Beer Festival gold medal winner. So my husband and I agreed it was a good purchase, even though we did not try it.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a Great American Beer Fest, I mean, you know, it's got to be
right,
good, right?
Yeah,
I feel like,
yeah, totally.
Cool. Yeah, no, I've definitely never been there. They're from Grand Rapids, so Kara and family went on a fun-looking end of summer vacation and picked up some beers, and we are going to sample this one to start. So I'm excited. Yeah, West Coast Swing. So
let's get this baby open.
Their theme is like vintage baseball themed. So
yes, I was gonna say, if I didn't know that when I went into the brewery, I definitely knew it once I got there.
Yes, yeah. So that's definitely their
it's everywhere.
thing. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen their beer anywhere, so I'm not really sure about the distribution, but they're in Grand Rapids.
Yeah.
They actually have 3 locations now in Michigan.
Yeah, they do. I was gonna say, when you said you don't think that you've seen their beer, we visited a handful of breweries on our trip, and I think only one of them has distributed to like where we live, and we'll get there eventually because we did buy some of their beer. Yep. But even they no longer do. Like, they used to distribute here and they don't anymore. So I think everything we're going to sample here is stuff you guys are just going to have to go on my road trip.
Cool.
To try.
I like it. So yeah, we're doing more vacation beers, more road trip beers. So let's give West Coast Swing a try.
Well, I just took a sip. I really like it. It's just like the right balance of like sweet and malty.
It's super malty to me. Yeah. That's very, it's not in a bad way, but like, you know, sometimes you get an amber ale that's very light on the malt and heavy on the sweet. This is a really good balance of like flavors to me, but the color is like, I mean, it's like
it's beautiful, amber. Isn't it?
It really is. Like, it's a
pretty beer.
It's like the mosquito amber from like Jurassic Park. Like, it's very like
that's a good description. Amber. Everyone knows exactly what you mean now.
Right? Yeah. So you know exactly what it looks like. But yeah, it's got a great maltiness to it. I really like the flavor of it.
Yeah, this is good. Now I see gold medal. I can see that totally.
Yeah, no, this is really, really tasty. So awesome. Yeah. So Mitten Brewing, I mean, if you figure Mitten, I'm sure immediately it's from Michigan.
Oh, I actually have a funny thing to say about that.
Okay.
That is something that I did not realize until I was a full-grown adult.
Oh, really?
Like a couple years ago, like very recently.
Wow.
I was on a trip with some friends.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody was like, "Oh, up in the Mitten." And I was
Mm-hmm.
just like, "What are you talking about?" And they were just like, "Michigan, because it's shaped like a mitten." And I was like,
Yeah.
"What? How is that? What do you mean?" And I like
That's so
literally held
funny.
my hand up.
Hand up and looked at
And
the
I was
state,
like,
and you're like,
"Oh."
I guess I took for granted that people just knew that
Yeah.
from the Midwest, if nothing else, that's a
Yeah.
thing.
So did everyone in my group. And they were just like astounded that I had reached the ripe old age of like, I mean, I had to be like 35 years old before I figured that out. At least. At least.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, that's surprising. But all right, well, we are educating people. If you don't know, look at a map and look at Michigan. It looks
It's a
like a
mitten.
mitten.
It
Yes.
looks like a mitten.
Hence the Mitten Brewing Company. So
Mm-hmm.
that all makes sense now.
Yes.
So
It's
the
a
Mitten,
revelation.
yes, the Mitten opened in 2012. It was opened by two lifelong friends that were residents of Grand Rapids. And they started home brewing and then decided to evolve that into their career, their business. So we already said it's a vintage baseball themed kind of
Right.
microbrewery, but they also have food. Supposedly their pizza is really good. I don't know what you had there.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what we had, which is kind of another fun fact. I don't really order pizza
Outside
outside
of
of like
Chicago.
the Chicagoland area because
Same.
I'm a snob.
And half the time it's horrible. So,
And no offense, but yeah, I mean, all of my experiences have led to me believing that there's no such thing as good pizza anywhere else. Yeah, I know what I said. Whatever. Come
yeah,
at
no,
me.
I'm with you.
Okay, you
I've
guys.
had some
Like,
really bad pizza in other states.
yeah. Every time I'm
So,
like, ooh, pizza, yeah. And I'm in like Florida.
Florida.
I'm like,
Florida
nope,
has the worst
so
pizza,
bad.
dude.
It's
I
so
don't even
gross.
know. I don't know how it's possible, but Florida has horrible pizza. Anyways,
Yeah.
neither here nor there, but supposedly the brewery is supposed to have good pizza.
Their pizza is awesome. We did get pizza.
Nice.
We got two. We got like a pepperoni for my
Mhm.
kids, and we got another one. And like, they were so good. I will say that we were at the zoo all day before we
Mhm.
went. And so we were like
You were hungry.
starving when we got in there. So that was probably a big part of it that we were very, very hungry, but it
Sure,
was
sure.
really good. We ate
Yeah,
leftovers another
nice.
night on the trip
Mm.
and they were still good.
Yeah, I mean it's like I said, I've read that it is quite tasty. So, but which is surprising outside of what I'm used to. But yes, when I go to other states, I generally don't order pizza. But
Yeah.
yeah, so
No.
they've got food, they've got beer. Their first location is actually housed in an old firehouse, so engine house number 9.
Okay.
That's on the west side of Grand Rapids. They restored it back in 2012. It also may be haunted. I don't know if you
Ooh.
heard about that when you were there. So
No.
both employees and patrons have seen shadowy figures, heard strange noises, seen objects mysteriously lifted in the air.
Ooh.
At one point, or at a couple points, there were actually children's footprints that appeared on the ground, like in the middle of the night, that didn't seem to come or go anywhere. They were just like a child
Ooh.
dancing in the middle of the floor. Supposedly, and actually there's a picture of it, I think, on their website maybe, but one of the footprints, they actually pulled the board up and preserved it under a layer of epoxy, and it's upstairs on the bar top that visitors can see the actual
Whoa.
children's footprint that magically appeared in the middle of the night.
Oh
But
my
yeah, supposedly it's
goodness.
haunted. So that's kind of
It's awesome
cool.
and scary at the same time.
Yes, so that's a fun fact from there. But so in 2016 they actually opened a second location, and that wasn't really planned. It sounds like it was more kind of just fell in their laps because they actually took over Northport Brewery, which was closing, and Northport had actually been contract brewing with the Mitten for a bit, and they were just planning on closing when they ran out of their last keg of beer. And
Right.
the Mitten took over, and that wound up being their second location in 2016. And then they actually opened a third location in 2018 in Saugatuck, um, in another old building. It was a pre-Civil War era home turned kind of brew pub, tap room, restaurant, and actually they do have a very small brew house operation there as well. So yeah, so huge expansion realistically over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And 3 locations in Michigan seem to be doing well. They're another one that right off the bat pretty much started with food. A lot of places just opened their brewery and then expand to a tap room, but food seems to be going well for them.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that was my experience.
yeah. Another cool thing about them is that the Mitten is huge into kind of giving back to the community. So they actually started the Mitten Foundation, which is kind of the charitable giving arm of the Mitten Brewery. And they are really into just giving back to local organizations. So they raised more than $300,000 for different local organizations, and they kind of put up on the Mitten Foundation's website every year like who they've donated to and how much and whatnot. So it's about $45,000 raised last year,
Wow.
For a variety of different kind of organizations. So boys and girls clubs, resurfacing at a local park. There's an
Nice.
autism organization that they supported. They also encourage their employees to do volunteer work, and just a variety of different things. So it's pretty cool that that's a whole nother kind of arm of the company is just the Mitten Foundation, the charitable giving. So pretty cool. So that's something else that
Yeah, that's
they're very
awesome.
much into. So yeah.
I actually saw a big check on the wall when we were there. That was dated like
Oh,
the day before, although forgive
okay.
me, I don't recall who it was for, what
Yeah, I'm not.
organization they were fundraising
Gotcha.
for this particular month.
Cool. Yeah, I don't know what they're currently for. You can go to the Mitten Foundation website and they have a variety of different things, and you can donate or you can see kind of what, different things that they're doing in events. So yeah, so pretty cool. I think that's
Yeah.
always, a great thing to give back to the community, and they seem like they're very involved in the local Grand Rapids area. So that's awesome. So
Yeah. That
yeah.
is awesome. What a great backstory for this brewery.
Yeah, I like it. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna keep drinking my amber ale over here for a bit,
Me
and
too.
let's talk about something else.
Compromise. We're going to talk about compromise. A subject that I
Oh,
can't believe we haven't discussed. I feel that way about everything we
mm-hmm.
talk about at this point, though. Every time we have a topic, I'm like, how have we not talked about this yet?
Right? Yeah, no, that's true. And this is something that we have to deal with like literally all the time.
Yes. I had a
So,
lot of this. I had a lot of this on our vacation. I had a lot of it.
yeah.
We adopted 2 kittens lately, and we had a
A
lot of,
picture.
I know, yeah, we're starting to post some pictures of these little guys. Um, we've had a lot of compromise situations in the
Mm,
last, week or two that
mm-hmm.
have really challenged us as a family and myself, personally.
Yeah, I feel
So,
like whenever there is any sort of trip that is something
yeah,
that definitely we also were you were out of town for much longer than us, but we were out of town for the weekends, which we'll be drinking some Michigan beers or Michigan, Wisconsin beers at some point as well, because we were in
awesome.
Wisconsin. But
Yeah.
we were with people that wasn't just our immediate family, so there were 3 families on
Uh,
this trip, and I feel like the more people you add, the more compromise is
that's totally,
necessary.
yeah, absolutely the
So
case. Yeah.
yeah. So
So I,
yeah.
yeah. So I kind of tried to break this into 2 little categories, and I'm
Mhm.
sure I could break it into a million categories because you
Probably.
compromise with everyone that you encounter. It's not just
Hmm.
your parents or your children or your husband or your
Everybody.
friends. It's
Quite literally
everybody.
everyone.
It's
Yeah.
coworkers. It's strangers. You
Hmm.
compromise with everyone.
Hmm.
Um, but I tried to break it into 2 categories just to keep it on brand with our
Okay.
parenting. And I thought a little bit about compromising with my kids
Okay.
And then also compromising with my husband in those situations. And so I'll start with the easier one, compromising with my kids. Is that easier? I don't know. I think it depends on the husband if it's easier.
It depends on the situation too.
Yeah.
I will add my 2 cents in here as well.
Oh,
I like
please do.
the different categories work because those are people I interact with the most. So likely have the most compromise necessary.
Yeah. So, so I have these 2 kids, right? And I have the 8-year-old boy and I have an 11-year-old boy. And my 8-year-old in general is more flexible.
Okay.
He gets stubborn in certain situations. He gets unwilling to compromise in certain situations, but only really those situations. Otherwise, he's pretty reasonable and flexible about almost anything.
Okay.
If we make last minute plans or something changes, or like let's say we're in our house and we realize we need to go get something, we didn't know we were going to have to do that
today. Yeah.
He will not budge. He does not want to do that. You do not spring things on him.
Gotcha.
He will not tolerate that.
This is what we're doing and we're sticking to the plan.
There has to be a schedule and he has to be made aware of it as early as possible.
All right.
So yes, in that regard, he's very unwilling to compromise. However, on the other hand, when we were trying to pick out what kittens we wanted to adopt and we saw a gajillion of them, he was way more flexible with that. Like my other son would be like, I really like this kitten. And my 8-year-old would just be like, whatever, that sounds good. I just want one that's cute. And we're like, well, they're all cute. Like pretty much.
Really, you're good with any of them.
So he has things that he's very rigid about, but he's in general pretty flexible and not super difficult
to know though too. Like if there are things that like this particular topic,
right,
someone is going to be not flexible on, at least then you can work around that. Like at least it's more predictable for when people are going to have a problem per se.
Yes, I think that is something that now that he's 8 and we've learned all of his little nuances, if you will, or eccentricities, he is a lot easier to work with. And when those situations come up where we know he has to compromise, we try to approach them, in a more diplomatic way so that we don't run into a situation where we're going to battle, basically.
Yeah.
My 11-year-old, on the other hand, is like almost completely unwilling to compromise in most situations. He's a rock, a heavy rock that you cannot move. And so, for example, over the summer, we were watching this Marvel show, Miss Marvel. The last one that came out on Disney Plus.
Yep.
And we had watched an episode or 2. And then before the next one came out, he had gotten a video game from the library that he had been meaning to rent or whatever.
Sure.
And he wanted to play it. And he wanted to play it with my husband. And my husband was like, well, that's fine. We can play it tomorrow. I'm off tomorrow. But your mom's home right now. Let's watch the new episode of Miss Marvel. It's 35 minutes long. There's one new episode a week. So this is it. We're going to watch one episode and then we're done.
Home. Yeah.
No. I want to play this game. I want to play it right now. And my husband is just like, well, that's not reasonable. I mean, like we can play it all day tomorrow. Whatever you want to do. We have no plans. And my son was just like, nope. I want to play this game. I'm not watching that show. I don't want to. And so we have to go so far as to be like, fine, we're going to watch it without you. And we'll go downstairs and turn it on and watch like 5 minutes. And then he comes down and he's like, fine, I'll watch. And that's how difficult it tends to be with him to compromise on things. And he was also like that with the kitten decision making. We went to this adoption event and it was at the pet store and there were a bunch of kittens there. And he found the one he liked and he stuck to that no matter what. And I'll tell you right now, that kitten lives in my house right now.
Because that was the one he was not
going to budge. We visited another person that had 2 kittens and we knew we wanted to get two.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
the easiest thing to do is to get two from the same litter, two kittens at the same foster,
Sure.
or
Yeah, that were
two that
together
are,
before.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're already together.
Yep.
And the kitten that my son had found at the adoption event
Mhm.
was the last of his litter. So he was the
Oh,
only one left, and the foster didn't have other kittens. So
okay.
we were in a position where we would have had to find a match for him. And we were
Oh,
like, well, that's kind of a pain. We don't want to be
right.
looking any longer. Let's just get these two kittens this other lady has. And he was just like, no,
Huh.
I want this kitten. I want that one. That's who we're going to get. We're going to get that kitten. And you guys are going to find somebody else for the second kitten. And I had to like scour the earth for another foster
Oh,
that
geez.
had
A
a couple
kitten.
of
Yeah,
kittens
yeah.
that was willing to part with one
All right.
uh and match this kitten up. And
Wow.
it turned out fine, and we found another great kitten. But there was an example of my son
Huh.
just being like completely unwilling to compromise. And even the second kitten, which we
Mhm.
kind of let the 8-year-old take the
Yeah.
lead on, my 11-year-old was just sort of like, "Oh, well, why didn't you like this one the most? The other lady we visited had 3 kittens available.
Okay.
So we were there to kind of pick out which one of the 3.
One. Yeah.
And ironically, it was me and my 2 sons. We each picked a different favorite.
Of course you did. To make
Yeah.
things difficult.
One of us picked the one that was the most playful, my 8-year-old. One of
Uh-huh.
us picked the one that was the friendliest. That was
Mhm.
me.
Yeah.
And then my other son, my 11-year-old, I don't even know how he came to the
Why
conclusion
he
that he
picked
wanted the
the other
third one.
one?
I
Yeah.
think he just did it on purpose because
Because
the other 2 of
nobody.
us had
Yeah.
already shared our preference. The kitten he picked kept scratching the couch. And I was
Oh
like, we're
my
not getting
gosh.
that kitten.
Definitely not getting that one
I don't
then.
want a kitten that scratches the couch. We can't have
No.
that one.
No. Definitely no.
They can't already be doing that. I can't already
Yeah.
have to break a bad
Right.
habit.
Yeah, no, I don't. That's a no. So, oh my gosh. Of course, of course. Yeah, I don't know. I will say that I am lucky with my children generally. I
Yeah,
think that my oldest is the most inflexible, but that's because of I think it's more because he's autistic and he doesn't have to, but he does much better with routine. So if
sure.
we stray from his routine, he gets a little anxiety, I think, because he doesn't know what's coming next. So we do try and communicate things to him like this is what we're doing, but like
Mhm.
he generally is pretty flexible, but sometimes it requires bribery. So like today, for
Yeah.
example, my husband is gone for a week.
Uh-huh.
I have to work and we're like out of a bunch of things, which I just figured out today after
Uh-huh. Of
dinner. And I was
course.
like,
Of
well, I
course.
guess we have to all go to the grocery store because even if I do a pickup, it's not going to be in time because it's 7 o'clock.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we have to
It's
all
too late for that.
Right, too late. So we have to all pile in the car and go to the store. So I was like, all right, everybody, I know everybody just wants to, and plus it's like after dinner, everybody had a long
Yeah.
day.
You
Everyone
just want to
just
put your
wants to like,
pajamas on.
right, everybody literally
Yeah.
just wants to sit around and do nothing. And I was like, okay, we all have to go to the store. And the twin boy was like, do we have to get a lot? And I was like,
Uh,
no, but we still have to get things. Like, it's gonna take a bit. And so
right.
I bribed them with Slurpees on the way home.
That's
I was like,
good.
all right.
Yeah.
So that's often what happens is bribery of some sort, and then they
Right.
are pretty agreeable to most things. Now, I think that my daughter is actually too flexible, which is not normally something you say about children, but
Right.
she is very just wanting to please everyone. So even if it's something
Ah.
she doesn't want to do, she will do it if somebody else asks her. So like I'm in the opposite boat with her. Like all weekend with a bunch of other families we were with, I was like, you don't have to do something you don't want to. Like you
Right.
can do something else. Like you don't have to compromise. You can be like, I don't want to do that and go
Right.
play at the park or go whatever, So it's like the opposite problem with her. My boy twin has been more he's been more requesting of specific things lately. Like normally they're pretty flexible, but now like even tonight he was like, I want to play Fortnite. And I was like, all right, well, we have
Right.
to do these other things first. And he was like, so I can't play now. And I was like, no, you can't play now. Like
Yeah, we get that.
yeah.
That's my 8-year-old. He's like
So
that.
So that's a lot of that I've started getting with the kids is like, I want to do this thing, whatever it is, whether I play a video game or do whatever, and I want to do it now. And I'm like, well, that's unfortunate for you, but you have to do these things first.
I have grown very weary of the getting yelled at for saying yes, but saying yes, but in a few minutes.
Sure. Yes, but not right now.
Yeah, we're gonna do that
first.
Like my husband and I wanting to watch a 35-minute television show before my son plays video games, and him being like, those are unreasonable terms.
Yeah, no, that's not unreasonable. Totally not unreasonable.
Come on, man. You want to do both things. We're just doing them in a different order than you originally planned.
Yeah. And the one has like a specific time limit. So like you're gonna finish that one first. So just compromise, guys. We're definitely working on that. I feel like the problem with 5 people in one house is that there's very few things that we all agree on. Even if it's just like a TV show, or what movie do you want, or what restaurant do you want to go to for dinner? Like that's one of the hardest things, honestly, is like, all right, we're so busy, we've got all these things, it's already 6:00, we're just gonna go out to dinner. Where do we want to go? And that's one of the hardest fights over things. It's like, and I know there's always, the stereotypical like husband and wife can't agree on dinner, but like throw 3 kids into the mix and it's a disaster.
My kids are very opinionated about dinner. They will, about restaurants, about meal choices, about all of that stuff. When we were on vacation, my husband and I, and especially in Grand Rapids, not really anywhere else, but like we wanted to go to some breweries. And so we picked breweries that had menus for food. So that we can make a meal out of it. So I'm not dragging my kids to a brewery that doesn't have anything for them. Because I don't like to do that. I don't generally do that.
Because you're going to have to feed them at some point.
Because then I'm showing up somewhere and I either had to bring food with me, which is like, why... that's so much
work. You're literally going to like McDonald's or something then, which isn't good either. So like,
or I have a time limit and we have to get out of there. It's either after dinner and it's getting late, or it's before dinner in the middle of the day and it's hungry. Cutting into something else.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, no, when we're with our kids, we definitely will go to breweries because oftentimes they have pretty good brew pubs if there's food. But we definitely look for things that have a menu. Like when we were in Colorado for spring break, we actually ate at a couple of breweries, but they had a full menu. So it worked out and there was something that everybody would eat. I was like, okay, here's the menu. Let's figure this out and find something. We contemplated, which I did not do, but we had talked about doing it earlier in the summer, putting a bunch of restaurant names just in like a container and just being like, all right, pick one. This is where we're eating. And I still may do that at some point. We were going to do that actually even for vacation choices for like the following year. Like, all right, everybody gets to put it at the location that they really want, and we will eventually get to all of them, but the next one just gets pulled out of a hat. But we have not implemented any of that because that takes time and forethought, and I don't have those right now.
Sounds brilliant, but it's work.
So, but that's definitely one of the harder things. But like, what movies to watch? Like if we're having like a family movie, like my kids are super into like everybody sits on the couch, we make a thing of popcorn and we watch a movie. But it's like impossible to get them to agree on a movie or to get them to agree on a movie that we haven't seen 1,200 times. So
I know. My kids will 100% pretty much rewatch anything. But
over and
getting
again.
them to watch a new movie is really challenging. And like my husband and I always make the same argument. Have we shown you a movie that you didn't like? Like don't get me wrong, if I also haven't seen it, there have been movies that we have watched where I'm like, this movie's just okay. But you haven't
seen it yet.
Yes. But when I've seen a movie and I'm like, hey, you guys are gonna love this, it's really funny. And then we watch it and you loved it, but you fought me for the first 10 minutes of the movie because you didn't want to watch a new movie.
Well, it's the same movie you've seen 1,200 times.
How many times do we have to do this experiment? And it goes well.
Yep. No, agreed. So so those are the things that often with the children at least wind up
Yeah.
being, they've actually also like, so now that we're at the end of the summer, they like no longer want to go to camp anymore because
Yeah.
they're like
Getting burned
done.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're like, do we have to, like, tomorrow they're going to camp because my
Right.
husband's out of town and I have to work. But
Right.
they're like, how many more days do we have to go? And I was like, look, guys, this, like, there literally is there's no compromising on this one.
Right.
Like, this is just something. And with the children, there are often things that, like, they don't get a
Right.
compromise on because there's just no choice. So
Right.
that's the other thing that I think they need to just understand is, like, sometimes you have no say
Right.
and this is just what it's going to be. So, and it is what it is.
Right.
But with my husband, there's more compromise, I feel like, because we both get a say
Yes, you have to
in
be a little bit
things.
more of like a committee instead of a dictatorship or whatever it
Yes,
might be. Yeah, I was about to kind of
exactly.
branch into the husband side of compromise.
Mhm,
My husband has a little bit of the traits that both of my kids have.
mhm,
Um, I actually think that, and of course, everybody will say this about themselves. For the most part, I think I'm pretty flexible, but I think
mhm,
it depends on the situation in that when it comes to like making plans,
mhm,
I'm not super flexible.
okay.
So, like
Yeah.
planning this trip, I
Mhm,
wanted my husband to take the reins, but I also wanted to kind of like give approval for things.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Oh, I
I know
totally,
that's how I
yeah.
am. So I'm just that's who I am. That's how I am about things. Um and that doesn't mean that I won't like, oh no, I'm not doing that or yuck or
Sure,
whatever.
sure.
But like for example, I'm not really super outdoorsy. I don't like
Mhm.
we spent a lot of time outdoors on this trip. A lot.
Yeah.
Going around and looking at an old fort or walking across a cool bridge or like we went
Mhm,
stargazing, sorry.
mhm,
And
mhm,
that all I really enjoyed.
mhm. Okay.
Walking in the middle of a forest in the dead of summer where there are a million spiders crawling on me, that is not what I want to do. That's what I mean by not being outdoorsy. I don't want to do that.
That's fair.
And and so if we're planning a trip, I don't
Mhm,
mind if there's like one day where we're going to go hiking and we
mhm.
might encounter, a handful of spiders here and there. I can
Yeah,
handle that. I don't want the whole trip to be that,
sure.
though.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by being unwilling to compromise at times with planning is that I just want to make sure I'm not going to get stuck spending 5 days in a row doing kind of the same activity that's not really my jam
Mhm.
you know and I think
Yeah.
the beauty of our last trip was that we really varied it. Like we did go to breweries, but we went to places that had really good food, and the kids actually really enjoyed the food at
Mhm.
most of the breweries. And we did the zoo, and the kids got, they loved that. Like they're still the
Cool.
right
Yeah.
age for the zoo.
Yes, ours
And
too. Yeah.
yeah, and like we broke up the drive as much as we could so that nobody was sitting in the car too
For too
long.
long. Yeah.
We didn't drive every single day. Everywhere we stayed a couple of days, and we like
Mhm.
balanced our trip as much as we could so that there wasn't somebody who was always compromising
Yeah. No,
and
that's
somebody
good.
who was
Yeah.
always getting what they want.
Right. Yeah.
My husband is like both of my kids in the sense that if it is a category of thing that he feels very strongly about, getting
Mhm.
him to change his mind is almost impossible. Like
Okay.
we always say high value purchases require approval of both people,
That's reasonable.
and that
Yeah.
number does vary, but it used to be $200.
Okay.
Now I think I could probably spend more than that or
Yeah.
less or whatever and
Sure,
still have
sure.
the conversation depending on the situation.
Yeah, and what it is. Like if you've been
Yeah.
talking about buying something, it's a little bit different than
Yeah.
yeah.
If the vacuum cleaner breaks, I don't need to get my husband's approval to buy a new vacuum cleaner.
Right?
And it
Yeah.
could be more than $200. And
Yeah.
that's fine. But and other than when our kids were little, I
Mhm.
was going to buy a new stroller, a new
Mhm.
double stroller.
Okay.
And the one that I was kind of looking at was very expensive. And I think it was like $300.
Yeah.
And which isn't outlandish for a double
No,
stroller.
because there's
So if you haven't had
always
kids yet, you
stupid
guys, spoiler
expensive.
alert,
Strollers
double
are so
stroller, save
ridiculously
up.
expensive. Yeah. Agreed.
But yeah, I wanted to buy this double stroller. And my husband was sort of like, we had one. It was just
Mhm.
kind of like getting really junky.
Yeah.
And he was sort of like, listen, the kids are getting older.
Mhm.
My older son was already like 5, 6, somewhere in there. And he's like, he's almost ready to not really use a
Not be in it.
stroller.
Yeah.
I think that it's a lot to spend on something that maybe isn't really a long-term useful item. And in the end, I was like, you know what? You're probably right. We had 2 really nice, like single strollers, and
Yeah.
we agreed that really what we were doing is we were trying to find something to bring on vacation, and we were both going to
Mm.
be there. So we just brought the 2
I just brought
singles.
both. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do I regret that? Kinda,
Mm.
because I had to push the stroller the whole time I was on vacation.
Yeah, and you like to at least
Ups
switch
and
off, I feel
downs.
like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it had ups and downs, but it
Yeah.
is what it is.
Yeah, I
Um,
get it.
but yeah, then on the other hand, there are times where he'll give his opinion and I'll still feel differently. And it's pretty rare that
Mhm.
I'm able to change his mind. I have done it. The whole kitten thing. He was ready to get a pet,
Mhm.
but was a little concerned about the timing. Initially, he
Okay.
was sort of thinking we would wait a little bit longer. And I was kind of pushing for us to do it before the kids went back to school.
Oh, okay.
And after a conversation, he was like, no, that makes sense because the kids are home and we were around a bit more. We should
Mhm.
do it. You're right. And that was he compromised very willingly.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So, also he reins me in. I always say that if it wasn't for my husband, I would make
Too
crazy
much.
decisions. Yeah, I would overdo it. I wanted to change the entire nature of our vacation and
Oh,
go
jeez.
like the opposite direction and go see this soccer game and then take a ferry across the lake and
Oh,
everything. And
yeah.
it was going to be potentially fun, but very, very expensive and a
Ah.
lot more travel.
Mm. Okay.
And everybody was sort of like, that sounds terrible.
It's a bad idea. We
And
should not do
yeah,
this.
and so there was no getting anyone to do that. And in the end, I felt like, yeah, you're probably right. And we did not do that.
That's fair. I think as a like my me and my husband generally like are a good pair in terms of balancing each other out depending on what the decisions are. Now, I will say that I make 90% of all of the vacation slash activity decisions in our
Okay.
household.
Yeah.
And he generally just says yes. And sometimes he'll be like, this is a bad idea, or we don't have the time, or some
Sure.
other suggestion, or no, I don't want to do that. Very rarely is there the no, I don't want to do that. Like usually he's pretty flexible with like if I'm like, I really want to do this, the kids will like it, here's, whatever. Um, he compromises far more than I do. So,
Right.
and he is definitely the more flexible of the two of us, for sure. Like I
Sure.
100% admit that. I am the inflexible one in
Yeah.
this relationship because usually I'm like, well, I spent all this time looking at these
Right.
things, planning these things, and I'm like, this is what I want to do.
And then somebody shoots you down and you're just like,
Yeah.
nah, it's not how this goes.
Yeah. So I mean, I will listen to reason, and we have made changes to things and
Sure.
whatnot, but I am probably the less less likely one to compromise
Sure.
on things.
Sure.
So, but yeah, I mean, if there's things that he really wants or there's things where he really has an opinion on, then I think that we're both pretty bad about being like, well, I think this and I think I'm right.
Right.
So, and
Well,
both of us struggle in that area.
yeah. Well, I mean, hopefully, the sign of a marriage that's supposed to last
Yes,
is
sure.
one of at least
Compromise, right?
gradually going that direction. Yes,
Yeah,
where you're more willing to compromise or more willing to hear somebody's side of things before
yeah.
immediately deciding to write
Be
them
like,
off forever.
yeah, no, we definitely communication and compromise are definitely key, and we've, had many many moons to try and get at that. Sometimes we're better at it than others, and I
Yeah.
can't really bribe him like I can the children. So it's a
Yeah.
it's a very different kind of situation than it is with the kids. I can't bribe him
Slurpees aren't
nearly as
really,
easily.
yeah.
Can't be like, I'll take you out to dinner. I mean, I can try, but
Yeah, right?
generally speaking, that doesn't really win the argument very well. Versus with the children, I can say, okay, if you will behave and adjust and be flexible, I
Sure,
will do
right.
this for you. Or I just say, you have no choice, you're just doing this. I
Right.
don't really have that option with a husband. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
need to make an argument for a good argument sometimes for why my way is the right way.
Yeah. A good sales
So,
pitch, if you will.
right? Or we just agree to disagree and he just keeps his mouth shut and does it anyways because I want to. So
That
that's
is lovely. That's love right there, ladies and
right. That
gentlemen.
that is love. That's how this relationship works. So all right,
That's
well
great.
let's drink our other beer
Yeah.
while we're at it.
Let's drink Fog Out. I drank this in the brewery, so I
Okay.
have had this. It was a solid representative of a New England IPA. I hope you feel the same way.
Nice.
I know we're both very snobby about New England IPAs, so
I
hopefully
know.
you won't be disappointed. I don't think that you will.
It smells really good. The aroma is
Oh,
it's like
yes.
fruity and it's just got
Yes,
a
it has
good
all of that.
combination. Yeah, no, from that, oh my God, my head on this is huge.
Isn't it great?
It
I
is.
mean,
It's so
it's got a
fluffy.
nice fluffy head. I was about to say the same
So
word. I
fluffy.
did. It's, I can't see my hand on the other side of the glass. It's very hazy. We're talking about a very hazy IPA.
Hazy,
So,
fluffy,
oh, smells so
citrusy
good. Yeah.
smell. It's got the perfect New England IPA aroma to it. All right. Ooh.
And it tastes like a New England IPA.
It's so smooth.
What I like about this that's a little different than some of the ones that we drink around here. So like I really like Gummy Apocalypse, which is a New England IPA from Noon Whistle. And I use Gummy Apocalypse a lot as a benchmark for New England IPAs for me.
Fair. It's a solid one. So that makes sense. Yeah.
What I like about this any IPA is that while it doesn't taste exactly like Gummy Apocalypse, and that's not what I expect, it's a little smoother. It has just a little less kick in it.
It's creamy almost.
Yes.
So like it's got that smooth, creamy feel to it. I think that it's not super super bitter or like super hoppy. Like it obviously is. If you don't like hops, you're not gonna like any New England IPAs. Yeah. But it doesn't have that like kick you in the like teeth incredible, like some of them are very sharp tasting.
Yes,
like
sharp is, for lack of a better word, and absolutely that's probably the best word. It's not quite so alarming or shocking of a flavor. Whereas sometimes others have a moment of that, even if it's like the initial taste or even a little bit on the tail end, there's always just like a little bit of a kick at some point. And this beer, I feel like, smooths it out pretty well. That doesn't make it better than all of the rest. I mean, I still probably like Gummy Apocalypse more.
Yeah, I mean every version has their own spin on it, and I think that this is a very creamy, very balanced version. So you're not getting a super sharp taste at the front or even on the end, like on the tail. It's kind of very balanced throughout. You're not getting a super long aftertaste to it that sticks with you. You could drink quite a bit of you could drink this and sometimes if you have that aftertaste to it, you don't want to take another sip because it's lingering. This one I feel like is very balanced and doesn't have a super lingering flavor. It's just good overall. It's a very good representation of a New England IPA though. Like this is a solid beer for sure.
Yes. Yep. That's how I feel about it.
I like it. I'm gonna keep drinking that.
Good. Me too.
So I don't have to compromise on anything. I don't have to compromise on anything all week. I'm by myself. So
you are solo, so you get to soak that in, the pluses and the minuses.
Both. Yes, I have to deal with all the children, but I can drink and eat whatever I decide on for this week, and
that's cool.
I'm gonna finish this fog out. I don't even know if we mentioned what it was called. So it's
I
called
may have
fog
said it.
out.
Yeah, I may have said it when I picked it up, but I might not have even really been facing my mic very well. So thank you for repeating the name.
So fog out, New England IPA. It says flavors added, natural flavors. So
of course,
which makes me kind of giggle,
as opposed to unnatural, right?
Right. Yeah, natural flavoring. So I thoroughly enjoyed this, the Mitten Brewing Co. So if you are anywhere, then the 3 variety of locations in Michigan, either Grand Rapids, I don't actually know where Northport is, or Saugatuck, then you can check them out. So I would recommend that.
Support that idea as well. And if you're a bit of an old school baseball fan, might be worth going anyway, even if you're not a huge beer drinker, because
for sure.
There was cool stuff on the walls, stuff that I did not appreciate enough, for sure.
Or if you want to ask about the haunting of Engine House number 9, go upstairs. Supposedly upstairs at the bar is where you can see the child's footprint from whatever ghost is haunting that.
I went upstairs, but I did not go to the bar. I went to use the washroom. If I had known that the place had been haunted, I would have been super creeped out upstairs. It was like completely empty. Nobody was up there. I would have been creeped out for sure.
Yeah, there was a interview with I don't remember who it was. Maybe it was a taproom manager or something that said they were having a meeting upstairs, and the person that they were having a meeting with was like, "Is there someone else supposed to be up here?" And they were like, "No." So they like got up and looked around, and she was like, "I swear someone just walked by. Like I saw a shadow." And they're like, "Nobody's here. There wasn't even time for someone to like get up and like run out of the room. Like that did not." So yeah, so there's definitely a possibility that it's haunted. So if you like beer, baseball, or ghosts, you got all of the reasons or pizza.
Or pizza.
Plenty of reasons to check out the Mitten. So
I think that covers just about everybody on the planet.
Somebody likes one of those things.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Cool. All right. I like it. Well, thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.
Talk to you again soon. Thanks, everyone, for listening to the latest musings from Parenting by the Pint.
Be sure to find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to us wherever you find your podcasts.
Have a great week, and cheers to you all.